Hi, everybody. All right, so if you're watching this video, first, congratulations, you completed your quiz on units 1, 2, and 3. So now it is time for unit 4. And unit 4 has some really important topics in it, including possession, object pronouns, and questions about the subject. Unit 4 begins on page 90. We're going to go ahead and start right with our first chart, 4.1. So give me a moment while I switch some things around. I'm going to share my screen so you can see my PowerPoint. And give me a moment while I get it ready for you. Okay, we're all set. Here we go. Taking a look at unit 4, let's start with possession. What does possession mean? Possession means a way to show that you own something or you have a direct relationship to it, like a connection, to connect. An example of ownership is anything that belongs to you. For example, I am using a computer to do this video. I own the computer. I paid for the computer. It is a computer that belongs to me. And so to show ownership, very simply, very easily, we can say Kristen's computer. I own the computer. Kristen would be followed by an apostrophe. That's this guy right here. You can see right between the N and the S, and then an S to show ownership. The same way we can show a relationship. Now, I don't own my kids, but I do have a connection to them, a relationship. And so they are my kids. We would say they are Kristen's kids. Note that it's the same structure because my name ends with an N and I am one person. We add an apostrophe S. Okay, let's take a look at how to do this. So how do we make a possession? Well, the first thing to learn is how to make a possession when we start with the singular. So we have one person or one object that owns or possesses or is connected to something else, right? So first, let's take your manager at work, right? You have a manager, a single manager, and your manager has an office. You can say my manager's office. Manager would get an apostrophe S. What if your dog over here on the bottom of the screen, what if your dog has a bow? You could say the dog's bow. The dog owns or possesses that bow. Likewise with cities, highways, a phone's camera, books, pages, or even today's date. Notice that a manager is a person, right? Dog is an animal. City is a place. Phone and a book are objects you can hold or touch. And today is an idea noun. But note that those are all nouns, right? The same thing with what follows them. Office, bow, highways, camera, pages, and date. Those are also nouns. So we're looking at a noun owning or possessing or being linked to through a relationship, a noun possessing another noun. So we're really working with nouns here. Also notice that, especially for the second object, it does not matter if that object is singular, like office, bow, camera, or date, or if that object is plural, like highways or pages. That part doesn't matter. So it has to be a noun that's being owned, right? But it can be plural or singular, that second object, and it doesn't make a difference. It's the first one that matters, whether that is singular or plural. So again, taking a look at singular, if we have John, we can say John's room. We just add an apostrophe S. We have Juanita, and she has a phone. We would say Juanita's phone. If we were looking at Ramie's beautiful nails, we might say Ramie's nails, the nails that Ramie has. And we can also talk again about things we can't touch, but are still nouns, like intelligence. It's still a noun, it's an idea noun. Even though we can't touch it, it's still a noun. Catherine's intelligence. Muhammad's attitude. Intelligence and attitude are still nouns. That's why they work for possession. Now, there's one student we haven't gotten to yet. What student is that? Carlos, right? Now, if you've noticed, every student so far has an apostrophe S to show ownership. We have one student whose name ends in an S. And even though his name ends in an S, because he is still one person, he's still singular. Even though his name ends in an S, you still need to do an apostrophe S. This is going to become really important in the next slide. So always keep in mind, even if it ends in an S, is it singular or plural? And Carlos is singular, he's one person, so we still do an apostrophe S, just like John, Juanita, Ramie, Catherine, and Muhammad. Everybody gets an apostrophe S. So what happens when we pluralize that first noun? When we take manager and make it managers. When we take one dog and now we've got two, or multiple cities, many phones, quite a few books, or all of our days. When we take those first nouns and make them plural, because they already have an S at the end, all we need to do is put an apostrophe. We skip that extra S, in large part because the pronunciation would be weird. We don't say my manager's office. We simply say my manager's office. It sounds exactly like just saying plural managers. You don't hear the apostrophe at the end at all. There's no special way to pronounce it. But we know it's a possession because we hear the noun after it. I spoke to my managers. That's just plural. I went to my manager's office. Well, if I knew you had two managers, then I would know that is also plural. Take some context. We have to listen to everything that's being said sometimes to know the difference. But when we write it, we can see the difference. And because this is writing class, you're responsible for the difference. Same thing with dogs. Dogs already ends in an S, so you just add an apostrophe. Cities, phones, books, and days, same way. They're plural. They already end in an S, so you just put an apostrophe. Note that for the most part, when we have a plural first subject, like dogs, cities, phones, books, and days, that second object that they own is usually plural. Not all the time. Sometimes two people can own one item. Just like, for example, my husband and I own a car together. So we would want to be careful about that. You can't just assume because the second one is plural that it's only one person or two people who own it. You have to watch actually where that apostrophe is. And that's why it's so important to get it right when you're writing. So let's take a look at a really tricky construction. Let's start with Emma. This is Emma. Emma is married. Emma has a husband. Here he is holding his thumbs up. Okay. This is Emma's husband. Emma is one person. And so we end her name with an apostrophe S to show that she is connected to her husband. There's that possession there. Now, this is Emma's husband. We talked about that in the first slide. Emma's husband has a motorcycle. Nice motorcycle, right? How do we show ownership? We can stack possessions, especially if we don't know his name. We only know him as Emma's husband. What's his name? I don't know. But we know he has a motorcycle. So we would say this is Emma's husband's motorcycle. Do we attach more possessions? No, we usually stop at 2. Any more than that, and we start to lose meaning. We don't understand what's going on. So this is one tricky construction you might run across. Do we use it often? Not always, but sometimes it's necessary, especially when we don't know names. We only know how one person is connected to another. So let's take a look at tricky construction number 2 with possession. This construction has to do with repeating words, words that we would say over again. And so how can we make our sentence simpler so we're not using the same words over again? Because we're lazy and we don't want to say all those words again. So let's go back to Emma. This is Emma on the left. Emma's hair is straight. And this is Sherry on the right. Sherry's hair is not straight. We could say curly, but we're going to say not straight for the sake of this example. When we put the 2 sentences together, we can eliminate some words. We can start with Emma's hair is straight, but then we can easily make the comparison. Sherry's hair is not straight. We just simply say Sherry's is not. We can get rid of hair and we can get rid of straight, and we can just say Emma's hair is straight, Sherry's is not. You'll see this construction out there as well. And sometimes we even use this in spoken language, spoken conversation. So it's a good one to listen for. But before we get too far, let's practice with some possessions so that way you know you have them right. In your book, on page 92, take a moment to work on exercises 2 and 3. Pause this video while you are working. Once you have all the answers, turn this video back on and I'll review the answers with you. Okay, your turn. Pause the video now. Okay, welcome back. I'm assuming you paused the video. To assume means to think I know the answer, even though I don't really know. So maybe you already did exercises 2 and 3, and you're ready to check and see if you were accurate, to see if your answers are correct. Let's take a look. Okay, here we are, page 92, exercise 2, turning in my book as well. All right, so the first one is already done for you. We have parents and names. And we need to show ownership between the two. The parents own their names. They possess the names, right? Parents is plural. It ends in an S. Because it's plural and already ends in the S, we don't need to add an extra S on because that would be a little bit too much to say parents is. We just say parents. So all we need is that apostrophe at the end. In number 2, notice that it's very similar. We have names that are being owned again, but now it's sisters. Sisters is already plural. And so we just need to add the possession. So add the apostrophe after the S. Don't add on another S. We don't need that. Number 3, now we just have brother. Brother is singular. Because brother is singular, in order to help him possess name, we need to add an apostrophe S. How about Luis? Luis is one person too, right? And just like Carlos, Luis's name ends in an S as well. Do you remember what we did to Carlos? Did we do anything special? No. Even though Carlos's name ends in an S, we still add four names, because one person, we add an apostrophe S. So we would need to do the same for Luis. And we would do Luis, apostrophe S, Luis's son. All right, looking at number 5, grandparents is plural, so just add the apostrophe after the S. Men is plural, but it doesn't end in an S, does it? So don't be tricked. Even though it's plural, it doesn't end in an S. And so we still need to get the S on there. So take men and do a standard apostrophe S. It's okay. We still know it's plural because men is plural. So just add the apostrophe S onto men to show ownership. So if that's what we did for men, do you think it's the same for women? Absolutely. We just take women, stays plural because it's women, but to show possession, we add an apostrophe S. And finally, we have brother's wife. Brother, of course, being singular. So we would need to do an apostrophe S. How did you do? Did you get all 8 correct? If so, give yourself a huge pat on the back. If you didn't, it's okay. That's why these are called exercises, so you can keep learning. Now, let's see how you did on exercise 3. If you didn't do exercise 3 yet, pause the video here, work on your answers, and then press play again. But if you've already done it, let's check. Exercise 3, we need to rewrite the entire sentence to incorporate or use a possession in it. And so here are how your sentences should look. Number 1 is already done. The teacher knows the students' names. The names of the students becomes the students' names. Number 2, the name of the school becomes the school's name. And so we simply say the school's name is Carson College. We add on the rest of the sentence. In number 3, the title of this textbook becomes the textbook's title. And then we just add on the rest of the sentence is grammar and context. Are you seeing how this is done? Taking a look at number 4, before I put the answer, do you see the names of your parents? What ownership should that be? Your parents' names. Now be careful, parents is plural. Did you put the apostrophe after the S? And this is a question. So we actually have the first part that stays there. What are? Then we put the possession. What are your parents' names? Number 5, the last name of your father. Your father's last name. Add the question part onto the beginning. Do you use your father's last name? Number 6, the name of your best friend becomes your best friend's name. Add that question back to the possession. What is your best friend's name? Okay, careful with this one. The names of my sisters. Sisters is what? Singular or plural? Plural. So where does the apostrophe go for a plural noun? It goes after the S. My sisters' names are Julie and Jessica. And finally, the name of my hometown becomes my hometown's name is Springfield. There you go. Did you get all 8? Yes? Pat on the back? If not, keep reviewing this. Go back and see. Ask yourself, why did I miss that? What did I do wrong? And how can I remember that so I can keep getting it correct as we go forward? All right, the next section that we have is called Possessive Adjectives. Possessive Adjectives is chart 4.2 on page 93. What are possessive adjectives? Now, we just talked about possessions, and I said possessions, straight possessions are nouns owning nouns, or nouns related to other nouns. Well, now we're going to work on possessive adjectives. Possessive adjectives are adjectives that describe nouns. Possessive adjective is in this chart. And so you'll need to learn these if you don't know them already. For example, the subject pronoun is I. The pronoun I can turn into an adjective by using the word my. You, as a subject pronoun, changes to your. He, as a subject pronoun, that's a noun, changes to an adjective when we say his. She, as a subject pronoun, a noun, can change to an adjective by using her. It becomes its. We becomes our as an adjective, and they becomes their. So let's take a look at this construction. Here's a really simple sentence for you on my screen. So typically a subject pronoun we would use right in the first part of our sentence. I have a pen. I is the person noun. Have would be the verb, and my object is a pen. That's what I have. But we can change our sentence. Remember when we were doing this and that and these and those? Well, let's take a look at one of those sentences that would use that construction. That is my pen. That would now be the subject. That is now the verb. That is what? That is a pen. But what if we want to say the pen is my pen? And that's actually describing the pen. It's the pen that belongs to me. In this case, because we are describing the pen as the pen that belongs to me, we would need to use this really cool possessive adjective word. And when we need to say that that pen is something that I own, remember that I becomes my. So right in front of the noun you are describing, we would use this word my. Let's take a look at a few more examples. He, she, and it. He would be the subject noun. Let's say that he owns a phone. We can say that is a phone and he owns it. So that is his phone. See how his is coming right before the noun phone? To say whose it is, that is his phone. Right after the verb, right before that object, phone. Does she have her books? Remember, the books belong to her, belong to she, right? Does she have her books? And the tree lost its leaves. Who do the leaves belong to? The leaves belong to the tree. The tree is not male or female. We would say the tree lost its leaves. Okay. Take a look at you, we, and they. You changes to your when it is a possessive adjective. Do you have your books? We becomes our. This is our apartment. Again, right before the noun. Whose apartment? Our apartment. They want their check. So the check would belong to them. Your, our, their. Okay. We refer to the noun before, not the noun after, when we are using possessive adjectives. For example, if we had the sentence, my brother lives with girlfriend, would we say my brother lives with his girlfriend or my brother lives with her girlfriend? Well, we don't know which one to use, her or his. We need to think about what noun we used as the subject, not the noun that is in the possessive or that second place. We need to go look earlier in the sentence. And so what's important is it's my brother who has the possession, right? Who has that relationship with the girlfriend. So we need to say, my brother lives with his girlfriend. If you said his, you got it right. All right, your turn for exercise 4. Exercise 4 starts on page 93 and continues on page 94. You know what to do. Pause the video while you work on this exercise, then press play when you have the answers. Let's see if you got it right. Okay, welcome back. So let's take a look at exercise 4 and the answers you should have for this exercise. Number 1 is my, and the book already gave that to you, so you should have that right. Number 2, he loves his mother. Look back at that first subject, he, that's male, so we need his. She loves her father. Don't pay attention to father. That's not important. You need to look back at that first subject. It's she. This tree is losing its leaves. Remember this example? Good. Some American women, look at that closely. Some American women. You might be really quick to think, oh, it's female, so it's going to be her. But women is singular or plural? Plural. So because it's plural, we would use their. Some American women, they, it's a group, they don't change their last names when they get married. Here's you. Do you use your father's last name? I use my middle name, and we put our names at the top of the page. All right, did you get them all? Did you do good? All right, if so, give me a high five on the screen. You're awesome. Let's take a look at questions with whose. This is a common structure that we use when we want to know who owns something. Take a look at the noun. Just to review, start with a simple noun like book. And we show that it's singular by saying a book. We add this is or that is. We did that all the way back in unit 1. This is, that is. This is a book. And then recently we've added possession. This is Carlos's book. Oh, there should be an apostrophe S. I'll tell you more about that. There is an argument, by the way, that there should not be an S on the back of that apostrophe. So it depends what school of English grammar you were brought up in. So what I wrote technically isn't correct, but it's not the way the book wants you to learn it. So just add an S onto the back of Carlos. What if we don't know who owns this book? How do we ask a question about who owns this book? What if we found a book that is a book, but we don't know who owns it? Might be Carlos, could be Juanita, might be Catherine. I don't know who owns the book. So here is where we use the question word whose. And we pair whose with the noun that we're asking about. Whose book? Whose shirt? Whose coffee mug? Whose glasses? Whose car? Whose apartment? Whose boyfriend? Then we add some form of to be, depending on what our subject is. Let's take a look. We have whose book is this. This, because we just need something general. We have it here. Whose book is this? And we can reply by saying, oh, that is Carlos's book. Okay. We can easily turn this into a plural. Whose books are these? Notice that when we took book and made it plural by adding an S, we also need to change to be and the subject. Notice that? It needs to reflect the plural. So are, not is, and these, not this. Whose books are these? Those are Juanita's books. Great. See how this works? All right, let's try this. We're going to do this when we are all back in together on Wednesday for a warm-up. And you can practice by going through this script. Pick an object in the room that's owned by somebody and point to it and ask, whose coffee mug is this? Whose books are these? And then we can all answer together, oh, that's Kristen's coffee mug. Those are Muhammad's books, right? All right, so we'll try that as a warm-up when we come back on Wednesday. But until then, let's slide over to or back to 4.3 with more questions about whose. Whose book do you have? We can also ask questions starting with whose book, but instead of using to be as our verb, we use do or does plus a verb. Whose book do you have? Whose books do you have? Notice that it doesn't matter that book or books is singular or plural here, because what does matter is your subject. If the subject is you, we need to change do or does to reflect the subject. Whose books do you have? Whose books do you have? Doesn't matter. You can say, I have Carlos's book, or I have Carlos's books, and it's both fine. If we change our subject to he, remember we need to change do to does. Whose book does he have? Whose books does he have? He has Juanita's book. He has Juanita's books. All right, now it's your turn. Exercise 5 begins on page 94 and includes some extra on page 95, right? Take the time to do this exercise, pause this video, and press play when you have all your answers. Let's see if you got them right. All right, pause the video, go work. Okay, you're back. Let's take a look at exercise 5 and see if you got all the right answers. Number 1, they already gave you whose kids are they? Number 2, there's a book on the floor. Oh, let me see who it belongs to. Whose book is that? Oh, it's Rita Patel's book. Number 3, my husband and I have different last names. Now, take a look at that final response there. Our son uses my husband's last name. So we would need to ask the question, whose name does your son use? Our son uses my husband's last name. Well, whose name does your son use? Okay, number 4. Do you have your new class schedule? Yes, I do. Okay, now, how do we know which question to ask? Take a look at the next line. I have Mr. Green's class for math. Oh, so the question should be, whose class do you have for math? Whose class do you have for math? Number 5, what's your cat's name? That's not my cat. Now, what question should we ask? Look at the next line. I don't know. It's always near my front door. So the question we probably need to ask is, whose cat is that? I don't know. Number 6, look, I'm first on the list. Ah, that's because your last name is Aaron. Your name is always first. What question are we asking? Take a look at the next line. Mine is, my name is always last. My name is Zizek. Oh, that would be last. But what question did we ask? We asked, whose name is last? Whose name is last? All right. So we did a bunch of things here. We did possessions, where a noun owns a noun. We did, and that was chart 4.1. We did possessive adjectives, where we moved our subject pronouns to a new place in the sentence, where they are now in front of another noun to describe, in front of another noun to describe that possession. My pen, your parents, his car. And we also looked at asking questions with whose. We have one last section to do together on this video, and that is chart 4.4. So let's take a look at that. If you look at chart 4.4, you will see that now that you know possessive adjectives, there's one more thing to learn about pronouns, and that is possessive pronouns, or I should say possession, and that is possession pronouns. Why do we use possessive pronouns? Because possessive adjectives can get boring, just like this slide is boring, because there's nothing on it to really look at, right? We could walk around saying, her jacket is pink, his jacket is black. His car is in the parking lot, her car is in the driveway. Their bus is going to New York City. Our bus is going to Easton. But we can change some things around to make it a little different and maybe a little more interesting when we speak. So, possessive pronouns. We can change the second possessive adjective to a possessive pronoun structure. A possessive pronoun is only a pronoun. There's no noun. Let me show you what I'm talking about. We know that it's a noun because it's the same noun as the sentence before. Or I should say we know what the noun is because it's the same noun as the sentence before. This might sound really confusing, but let's take a look at an example. In our original two sentences, I said, her jacket is pink, my jacket is black. We have two sentences in a row that both use a possessive adjective. In the first sentence, the possessive adjective is her because the noun is jacket. Do you see that her comes right before the noun jacket? It's describing who owns the jacket. Same thing with the second sentence. Again, we have the noun jacket. The jacket belongs to me. So rather than saying Kristen's jacket, I don't want to refer to myself as Kristen. I would say my jacket is black. So we have two very similar sentences in a row. Instead of saying my jacket is black, what I can do is I can take my jacket because it's kind of repetitive, and I can change that into what's called a possessive pronoun. Her jacket is pink, mine is black. But do you see how we're using this together with another sentence where the ideas are similar, but we're trying to show a difference? Okay. Take a look at the next sentence, another idea, and maybe you can, it'll help you understand this when you see it in action again. Let's take a look. The second sentence I put on the previous slide was this. His car is in the parking lot. Her car is in the driveway. Let's keep the first sentence. His car is in the parking lot. His is a possessive adjective describing or connecting to car. But let's change her car to a possessive pronoun. Because it's her, we can say his car is in the parking lot. Hers is in the driveway. We don't need to say car again. We can just say hers. Hers. We know we're talking about a car because we used car in the first sentence. And so we would know in the second sentence that we meant car as well, just a car owned by somebody different. Their bus is going to New York City. Our bus is going to Easton. Let's take our bus and just make that one simple word. We can say their bus is going to New York City. Ours is going to Easton. All right, your turn. Exercises 6 and 7 on page 96. This will give you more practice with all of these possessions, especially these possessive pronouns. Again, work on these exercises, press the pause button, press play when you have everything down. Let's check your answers. Get to it. All right, welcome back. You should have done exercise 6 and 7. Let's check your answers for exercise 6. We're almost done, I promise. We are almost done. Your name is too long. Mine is too short. Instead of saying my name, we can simply say mine. Again, we understand name because name was just used in the sentence before it. Her sister likes her name. I don't like mine. Did you get mine? Good job. I like my first name. Do you like your first name? Do you like yours? Number 4, my sister uses her middle name. My brother doesn't use his middle name. My brother doesn't use his. That's easy, right? Because it's the same. Number 5, my wife and I have different last names. My last name is Roberts. Hers is Paulson. Did you get it? Number 6, your last name is easy to pronounce. Theirs is hard. And finally, my brother's children are all grown up. Our children, or we can simply just say ours. Ours are still small. I hope you did really, really well. Let's check exercise 7. Here we go. Do you live with your parents? No, I don't. Do you live with yours? Instead of saying your parents, we can say, do you live with yours? Person A says, no. Mine, or my parents, mine, are back home in South Korea. They live with my brother. Now, brother is there as the noun, so we can't use mine. Mine would be to get rid of both the possession and the noun, but we still have the noun there, so we would use my. All right, blank brother is single then. All right, do you see brother? Brother is the noun, so we would need not yours. Yours takes the place of both the possession and the noun, but the noun is still there. So we would need to say your brother is single then? No, he's married. He lives with blank wife. Again, the noun is present, so he lives with his wife and parents, our parents. Wife and parents are nouns, so we need the possessive adjective form, right? Because the noun is there. So we need to describe the noun. All right, number 8, in blank country, again, country is the noun is there, so we need the possessive adjective form. In our country, married children often live with blank parents. Again, parents is the noun, we need the possessive adjective form. Which one is the possessive adjective form? Married children is plural. They live with their parents. Looking at number 10, here grown children don't usually want to live with their parents. Again, parents is the noun, so we need, the noun is there. We can see the noun, we hear the noun, so we need the possessive adjective form instead. My mom and dad live in another state. Isn't that hard for you? No, not really. I have life. Life is a noun. I have my life. And they have, now look, there's no noun there. It's only a pronoun, right? So here we need the possessive pronoun. They have theirs with an S on the end. I know this gets tricky, but how did you do? Did you do all right? Did you hang in there? I know it's hard. Okay, so that's a lot on possessions. That's a lot on possessions. Here is your task for Wednesday. I know your head probably feels like it is ready to explode. I understand that, but we've got a lot to do in Unit 4, and I need you to take a look at chart 4.5 on page 98. So go to chart 4.5 on page 98. We're looking at object pronouns here, and we're talking about what is the object, and we need to be able to use these object pronouns. But before we even know how to use an object pronoun, let's talk about what the object even is first, okay? So we know the subject. The subject comes before the verb, and it is who or what the sentence is about. I want. we have. The subject is I or we, or it could be somebody's name, or we can name an object, okay, or a thing, I should say. Don't want to confuse the words here. The object of a sentence is what comes after the verb, and it's a noun. For example, I want ice cream. Ice cream is a thing, the object of the sentence. We can usually figure out if it's the object by changing the statement into a question. What do you want? I want ice cream. We have homework. What do we have? We have homework. Again, ask a what question. If you can answer the what question, then you know you have an object here. Ice cream and homework are both nouns. Remember, the object comes after the verb. And because we like to make things even trickier, sometimes we pair the object with a preposition. But you can kind of remember, this makes sense. Prepositions always need a noun with them. So that noun partner, sometimes that's the object of the sentence. For example, I walk. I is the subject. Walk is the verb. After the verb, we see a couple things. On, which is a preposition, and street, which is its noun partner. On the street is the object of the sentence. Street is the object of the sentence. We sit. We is the subject. Sit is the verb, but now you see a preposition plus its noun partner. Remember, they always need to come together. Prepositions always need a noun with them. It's okay that we see the preposition go to the noun. That is the object of the sentence. So an object can be a noun or a noun phrase, or a noun phrase like a preposition plus a noun. Or sometimes we use a pronoun. I have what? I have it. She likes what? She likes them. So here, it and them are pronouns. What is the object of each sentence? All right, so let's take a minute and let's just review objects here. I have a cat. What is the object of this sentence? Can you see it? All right. Keep in mind your answer. Take a look at the next sentences. As I read each sentence, think to yourself, what is the object? Remember, you are looking before or after the verb? After the verb, okay? Tuxedo lives outside. Tuxedo arrived at our house. He watches the birds. He never chases them. He lies under the bushes. He sleeps during the day. He constantly eats food. This is my cat, by the way. All right, so let's take a look here. What is the object of each sentence? Did you get it? I have a cat. It's the noun after the verb, right? Tuxedo lives. Lives is the verb. Outside. Outside is a place. Still a noun. Tuxedo arrived at our house. At is the preposition. Doesn't matter. Prepositions always need a noun partner. No problem. What's the noun? House. He watches. What does he watch? The birds. Birds is the object. He never chases. Chases is the verb. Never is an adverb. That's okay. It's just describing the verb. What's important is what's after the verb. Them. Here you see one of our object pronouns, right? Them. He lies under the bushes. Bushes is the object. He sleeps during the day. Again, under and during, part of prepositional phrases here. And he constantly eats. Constantly is an adverb. It's just describing the verb. So look at the verb eat. What's after it? What noun? Food, right? Got it? Okay, good. So here is your homework for Wednesday. Lots of practice here. I would like for you to work on the exercises 8 through 15. Yes, that's a lot of exercises. 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. That's 8 exercises. I know this is going to be very busy, but I promise you, by doing all of these exercises, you will grow stronger in your ability to do English grammar. So put in the hard work. Don't kill yourself. Don't try to do it all at once. Break it up. Do a little bit each day. When we join together on Wednesday, I'm going to pick out 1 or 2 of the exercises to count for your homework. And I don't know which ones. I might just randomly draw a number from a hat. And that will be what I grade you on. So you just want to make sure you've tried them all. Don't skip any. Put in an answer. Even if you don't know, put in some kind of an answer and see if you're right. Take your best try, right? Do your best try. Okay, everybody. Thanks for doing this crazy Monday and this new format, but I hoped it helped you have this time to really look at the first concepts, so that way when we are together on Wednesday, we can review what you learned in this video and we can go forward in this chapter and finish it up, because this is a chapter we need to do quickly, but it does have a lot to learn. I will see you on Wednesday. Remember, do all of these exercises 8 through 15. Don't skip them. Get your exercise points. And I'll see you soon. Bye, everybody.